They had been together for 2 years. Jason was her partner, and she believed everything was steady between them. One evening, he invited her to a dinner with his colleagues and friends. It was meant to be a pleasant evening, light conversation, shared food, and relaxed company. She dressed thoughtfully, wore a gentle expression, and treated everyone with kindness. While seated at the table, Jason looked straight at her and said with a smirk, "You know she's only here for the money, right? Total gold digger." He laughed, expecting others to join him. A few gave forced chuckles, while most stared in awkward silence. Her heart sank. His words pierced through the moment. A close friend, sitting nearby, gave her a soft, understanding glance. She stayed still. Jason added, "Let's be honest. If I didn't have money, would she really be sitting here?" He smiled again, enjoying the attention. Her face remained steady. She offered a small smile, said nothing, and kept her posture calm. Deep inside, something broke loose. That night, she couldn't sleep. The words echoed again and again. That wasn't playful. It was his truth. After years beside him, that's what he believed about her. She remembered the support she gave, the time she offered, the effort she put into every day with him. She thought of the times she covered her own expenses, stayed independent, and asked for little. Still, he saw her as something less. He didn't recognize her loyalty. He didn't appreciate her strength. He didn't understand what she brought into his life. Instead, he chose to humiliate her in front of others. Later that evening, she gave him one final smile. He didn't see the distance behind it. She shed no tears. She said no harsh words. She made a quiet promise inside herself. One day, he would feel the weight of his actions, not through rage, but through something colder, sharper, and lasting. At that table, under dim lights and silent stares, her heart changed. That was the beginning. She met Jason 3 years ago. He was friendly, confident, and had a way of making people feel special. He dressed well, spoke kindly, and seemed like someone who had his life together. In the beginning, he gave her flowers, took her to nice places, and always paid for everything without a second thought. She felt lucky. He made her believe he cared. At first, he treated her like she mattered. He complimented her often and said he wanted something real. He talked about building a future, traveling together, maybe even settling down. It all felt honest. She trusted him. When he offered help, she accepted. When he gave her gifts, she said thank you. It didn't seem like there was anything wrong. Slowly, things started to shift. The kind words came less often. He would say things like, "You should really think about getting a better job," or, "It's cute how you live in that tiny place." She didn't like those comments, but she brushed them off. Maybe he was just joking. Maybe he wanted her to grow. She kept giving him the benefit of the doubt. He started using money as a way to keep control. If she said something he didn't like, he'd remind her of everything he'd done for her. If she wanted to pay for something, he'd laugh and say, "Let me handle it. You can't really afford this anyway." Sometimes he'd compare her to other women, ones with better jobs, better clothes, or more ambition. She felt small but stayed quiet. She didn't want to fight. She thought things would get better. She noticed he never introduced her to his parents. Every time she asked, he had an excuse. "They're busy," or "It's not the right time yet." Holidays came and went. She spent them alone or with her own family. He always had a reason to be somewhere else. Whenever she brought up the future, moving in together, starting something more serious, he would smile and change the subject. Sometimes he said it was too soon. Other times he blamed stress or work. He made her feel like wanting stability was asking for too much. She began to feel confused. Nothing was clear anymore. The man who once called her amazing now made her question her worth. He never yelled. He didn't have to. His silence, his smirks, his small jabs, they said enough. She didn't realize it right away, but he had built a wall around her. Slowly, carefully, and with a smile on his face. She worked hard every day, paid her bills, took care of herself. She never asked for anything he didn't offer. Still, he made her feel like she owed him something. She tried harder, hoping he would see how much she cared. But he never changed. He just watched, comfortable in his place, while she kept giving more. Looking back, she understood. She wasn't chasing money. She was chasing love that never existed. She wasn't asking for too much. She was just asking the wrong person. He had called her something cruel, but the truth was clear. She wasn't digging for gold. She was digging her way out of everything he made her believe. After everything ended, she didn't try to look back. But late one night, while going through old photos and messages, something caught her eye. She was cleaning out her phone when she found a picture Jason had once sent her. It didn't seem important at first, just a picture of him standing in front of a mirror. But there was something strange in the background. A photo frame on the shelf behind him showed him standing next to a woman she didn't recognize. Both of them were dressed up. He was in a suit. She was wearing a white dress. They were smiling, holding hands, and the woman had a ring on her finger. Her chest tightened. It didn't make sense. Jason never talked about any serious relationships before. He always said nothing ever lasted. He said she was different, that he had never felt this way about anyone else. But the photo said something else. She stared at it for a long time. Curious and unsure, she zoomed in, saved the image, and started searching. It didn't take long to find the woman online. Her profile was public. Her name was Lena. One look at her pictures confirmed everything. She had been engaged to Jason almost 2 years before he met her. There were photos of their time together, including one post that clearly said, "Can't wait to marry my best friend." In one of the posts, Lena's hand was in focus, showing a vintage ring with a bright, clear stone. Her fingers trembled as she kept scrolling. She felt angry, not just because Jason had hidden this, but because he had acted like she was the one chasing him. He made her feel like she didn't deserve more. Yet here was proof that he had once been ready to give someone else exactly. She kept digging. From the comments and dates, she figured out that the engagement didn't last long. A few months after the happy posts, everything stopped. The pictures of Jason disappeared. Lena never mentioned him again. No breakup post, no explanation, just silence. What stood out even more was the ring. It wasn't just any ring. It was a family piece. Lena had written that it had been passed down from her grandmother. She had said it was priceless to her. In one post, she thanked Jason for keeping the tradition alive. That made her pause. If the ring was a family heirloom, then it should have gone back to Lena's family after the breakup. But Jason never said anything about giving back a ring. In fact, once she remembered, he had a box in his closet he never let her open. She thought it was just old stuff. Now she wasn't so sure. Her mind raced. He never proposed to her. Not once in all those years. He avoided the topic every time she brought it up. But he still had that ring. The same one from the photos. The same one that didn't belong to him anymore. She sat there in silence, her thoughts heavy. He lied about his past. He lied about what he wanted. And now she realized he had been holding on to something that didn't belong to him. Something he promised to someone else. Something he kept hidden while pretending she was the problem. It wasn't just about the ring. It was about the truth. He was never honest. He acted like he was the one in control, the one who knew best, while keeping secrets the whole time. He made her feel like she wasn't enough. But the truth was, he had been carrying his past with him all along. She had just been too trusting to see it. Now, everything was clear. She thought for a long time before doing anything. Her mind kept going back to the photos, the ring, the lies. She had seen enough to know that Jason wasn't honest. Still, something inside her held back. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was doubt. She didn't want to seem bitter or foolish. But the more she thought about it, the more she knew she couldn't stay quiet. She looked at Lena's profile again. It was still open. The photos, the stories, the old memories were all there. She stared at the picture of the ring once more. It was the same one she had seen in Jason's box. She felt sick. The truth was right in front of her, but it still felt unreal. After many nights of overthinking, she finally typed the message. Her hands shook a little. "Hi, this is random, but I think we dated the same guy. His name is Jason." She stared at the screen for a few minutes before pressing send. Then she put her phone down and walked away. She didn't expect an answer. But a few hours later, her phone buzzed. It was Lena. "Hi. Wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting this today," she replied carefully, not knowing what to say next. But soon, the conversation picked up. Lena was open, honest, and surprisingly calm. She didn't seem angry, just tired, like she had been carrying a weight for a long time. They talked about how they met him, how things started sweet and warm, and how slowly everything turned cold. Both had felt small around him. Both had been told they were lucky. Both had stayed longer than they should have. Lena said she ended things after catching him with someone else. It wasn't just the cheating that hurt. It was how easily he lied, how quickly he turned the blame. She said he had a way of making her feel guilty, even when she did nothing wrong. They kept talking, sharing moments that felt too familiar. It was like hearing her own story from someone else's mouth. Each message made her feel less alone. The pain felt lighter when it was shared. Then Lena mentioned the ring. "I never got it back. It belonged to my grandmother. My parents gave it to him because they trusted him." She paused before adding, "He told me later that he pawned it." Her heart sank. So he lied about that too. He didn't pawn it. He kept it, hidden in a box like it meant nothing. She didn't tell Lena that she had seen it. Not yet. She just let the truth settle in. Jason had taken something that didn't belong to him and never returned it. And then he had the nerve to mock her in front of everyone, like she was the one who used people. It was all too much. She felt a mix of anger, sadness, and strange relief. Anger at Jason, sadness for everything she believed, and relief that she wasn't crazy. Someone else had been through the same thing. Their chat lasted hours. They laughed a little. They cried a little. It felt strange but comforting. Two strangers, brought together by lies, sitting on opposite sides of a screen, helping each other feel seen. She didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was clear. Jason had fooled them both, and he didn't deserve to get away with it. Lena didn't seem angry. She sounded calm, even thoughtful, as their conversation continued. After they had shared stories and memories, she brought up something unexpected. She said she still had the ring. Her voice, even through messages, held a kind of sadness. She explained that Jason never returned it after their breakup. He didn't pawn it. He simply kept it, pretending it was gone. She had asked for it once, but he ignored her. Time passed, and she gave up. She put it in a drawer and tried to move on. Now, after hearing what he had done to someone else, she felt like it was time to let go for good. "If you want it," she wrote, "you can have it. Maybe it'll give you peace. It sure won't do anything for me anymore." The offer was surprising. She stared at the screen, unsure what to say. Part of her wanted to say no, but another part of her saw it as a quiet way to end things, on her own term. He used that ring to fool someone before. He kept it hidden while making others feel small. Now, it could mean something else. She asked how much Lena wanted for it. Lena didn't ask for much. She only wanted to pass it on. A symbol of her past, now ready to belong to someone who could reclaim it. The idea felt right. Simple, clean, silent. They met once. It was quick. No long talks, just an understanding look between them. Lena handed her a small box, said thank you, and left. There was no need for more words. They had already said everything that mattered. At home, she sat quietly and opened the box. Inside was the same ring from the pictures, gold, old, and shining. The diamond caught the light as she turned it in her fingers. It was beautiful, yes, but what made her heart beat faster wasn't the shine. It was what the ring meant now. He had lied. He had hidden things. He had called her names in front of others. But here she was, holding something he had kept for years. Something he once used to promise love. Now it was hers. She paid for it with her own savings. Money she earned by working hard. No one helped her. No one gave her gifts. This was hers fully. She didn't need him. She never did. And holding that ring felt like the end of something heavy. She placed it back in the box and smiled slightly. He never gave her anything real. Not love. Not honesty. But this she took for herself. It didn't matter what he thought anymore. The story he told about her was just noise. What mattered was that she had the truth, the strength, and something he could never take back. The ring once belonged to another woman. Then it sat in silence, forgotten. Now it was hers. Not because of love, but because she chose to take back power he tried to steal. She sat alone in her room, holding the ring in her hand. It felt heavy, not because of the metal, but because of everything it stood for. A long story full of lies, games, and silence. Now it belonged to someone who knew the truth. Not someone fooled by pretty words or fake promises. She looked at it for a long time, thinking. Then, a quiet idea formed in her mind. Nothing loud, nothing cruel, just one clear moment. She picked up her phone, opened the camera, and took a picture. Her hand rested gently on a soft cloth, the ring catching a bit of sunlight from the window. The photo was simple but clear. She posted it online. No long story. Just one line under the picture, secondhand, but still worth more than he ever was. The image didn't need an explanation. The people who needed to understand would understand. Within minutes, the post began to get attention. Some friends reacted with hearts. A few left quiet comments. But it was the private messages that showed how fast the truth traveled. One person wrote, "Wait, is that the ring she used to wear?" Another said, "Is that his ex's ring?" She didn't reply. She didn't need to. The photo and the words had already done enough. It was quiet but sharp. Then her phone buzzed again. It was Jason. His name flashed across the screen. She paused before opening the message. "What the hell are you doing?" That was all he wrote. No greeting. No question mark. Just anger. No apology. No regret. She didn't wait long before typing back. One sentence. 2 words. Recycling trash. She put her phone down and walked away. There were no more calls. No more messages. Just silence on his end now. The kind of silence that comes when someone finally realizes they've lost control. The kind of silence that says everything. She didn't post anything else. She didn't have to. The ring wasn't about showing off. It wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was about taking back her story. About saying, without shouting, that she saw through it all. People kept talking, of course. Some whispered. Some laughed. Some just watched. But the best part, she didn't care. For once, she didn't feel small or unsure. She felt steady. The ring that once belonged to someone else, that sat in a box untouched, had now become her quiet answer. Not out of hate, not to hurt, just to remind him, and herself, that truth always finds a way. She went to sleep that night with peace. No noise in her head. No weight on her chest. Just a simple thought. She didn't need him to say sorry. She didn't need him to understand. She had the last word, and it didn't need to be loud to be heard. After the photo was posted, things began to change quickly. People noticed. Some stayed quiet, but many started asking questions. At first, it was just close friends. Then co-workers began whispering. Everyone had seen the post, and most knew who the ring belonged to before. Some messaged her privately, showing quiet support. A few even apologized for not speaking up sooner. They had seen how Jason behaved but didn't want to get involved. Now they felt sorry for staying silent. Jason started hearing the talk too. He didn't say anything at first, but his silence didn't last. He sent messages to a few people, trying to explain. He said it was a misunderstanding, that it was a joke, that people were making it bigger than it really was. But fewer people believed him now. Stories began to come out, not just from her, but from others. One woman shared how he made fun of her job. Another said he would praise her in front of others, then tear her down in private. Small things that seemed unimportant at the time now looked different. Patterns were becoming clear. Even Lena joined in quietly. She didn't use names, but her meaning was clear. She posted a short message. Some people take things that were never theirs, then blame you for noticing. That one sentence was enough. Those who knew her story understood. It added weight to everything already out there. Jason tried to speak up more after that. He made a few posts, each one carefully written. He talked about being misunderstood. He said people were twisting facts. He called it petty drama, and said real adults wouldn't air their problems online. But the words didn't work this time. The more he spoke, the worse it got. People saw through it. They remembered the jokes, the rude comments, the way he acted around women. Many had brushed it off before, but now it all made sense. His image, once charming, was now full of cracks. He started to feel it everywhere. At work, conversations would stop when he walked into a room. Old friends began to distance themselves. Some unfollowed him quietly. A few even messaged her to say they believed her. He wasn't used to this. He had always controlled how people saw him. He had always been the one who smiled, made jokes, and walked away untouched. But this time, the truth stuck. She didn't celebrate. She didn't post anything new. She just watched from a distance. Calm. Steady. The change didn't come from shouting. It came from small truths shared with care. No need for arguments. Just quiet facts standing on their own. And now, everyone saw what had been hidden before. One evening, her phone rang. She looked at the screen and saw his name. For a moment, she just stared. Then she answered. His voice sounded softer than before. He said he wanted to talk, that he had been thinking a lot. He claimed he didn't mean to hurt her. He said he missed her and wished things had gone differently. He tried to laugh off his past words. He said, "You knew I was joking, right?" Everyone knew. He kept repeating how it wasn't serious, how people had misunderstood him. He blamed the internet, saying things get twisted too easily. He even said he had always cared for her, and that the things he said came out wrong. She stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then she spoke slowly and clearly. She told him it wasn't just one comment. It was every time he made her feel small. It was every moment he ignored her efforts and made her feel like she had to prove her worth. She reminded him of the times he made fun of her choices, questioned her goals, and dismissed her feeling. He said those things didn't matter anymore. He wanted to move past them. He acted like forgetting was enough. But she remembered everything. Not because she wanted to hold a grudge, but because those moments had shaped her. Each word, each silence, each look had left a mark. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue. She simply told him the truth. He had treated her like she didn't matter, and now he was feeling what that was like. She didn't say it to be cruel. She just said what needed to be said. He tried again, said they could start over, that things could be better this time. He promised to change, to be more careful, to treat her right. But it was too late. She had heard it all before in different ways. Promises without action. Apologies without meaning. Before ending the call, she said one last thing. "Enjoy your reputation. I'm enjoying my ring." Then she hung up. She didn't cry. She didn't feel sorry. She felt calm. He had tried to twist the story again, but she didn't let him. This time, she held the truth. Clear, steady, unshaken. She turned off her phone and went outside. The air felt cool. She looked up at the sky and felt peace. There was no need to look back anymore. He had shown her who he was. And now she finally believed it. He could say whatever he wanted. He could tell people his version. But deep down he knew. And that was enough. She took the ring and placed it carefully in a small box. Then she searched for a place that could tell her how much it was really worth. After a few calls, she found a trusted auction house in the city. The next day, she went there and handed it over. The expert looked at the ring for a while. He used tools and lights to check every part. Then he looked up and smiled slightly. He said it was rare and valuable. The design, the stone, and the age all added to its price. He gave her a number. It was much more than what she had given to get it. She nodded slowly, keeping her face calm. Inside, she felt something shift. The same object that had once been part of someone else's broken promise was now giving her something new. She agreed to sell it through them. They listed it with care, adding photos and details. A few days later, a buyer made an offer. She accepted. The deal was done. The ring was gone, but it had left behind something better, freedom and peace. With the money in her account, she sat down and thought about what to do next. She didn't want to spend it on anything to keep. She wanted to create a memory that belonged only to her. A place, a feeling, a story that had no ties to the past. She booked a flight. Just one seat, one suitcase, and no plans to explain anything to anyone. The trip began with a calm morning. A soft breeze, warm air, and the sound of waves in the distance. She walked along the sand with bare feet, feeling light for the first time in a long while. She took a picture. The sea behind her, sun above, a small smile on her face. No makeup, no filters. Just peace. Then she posted it with a short line. Some baggage is worth selling. She didn't check comments. She didn't wait for replies. The message wasn't for others. It was for herself. Each day of the trip, she woke up early, watched the sunrise, and wrote down her thoughts in a small notebook. She ate fresh meals, listened to music, and talked to strangers with kind eyes. No one there knew her story, and she didn't need them to. The world felt wide again. She swam in clear water, watched birds fly across the sky, and walked through quiet streets without checking her phone. There were no calls, no messages, no reminders of anything that came before. She had turned pain into power, silence into strength, and a ring into a new chapter. Nothing felt heavy anymore. Everything she carried now was hers alone. She sat by her window one morning, thinking about everything that had happened. The words he used still echoed sometimes, but they didn't hurt anymore. Instead, they made her stronger. He had tried to shame her in front of others, calling her something ugly just because she wanted care, honesty, and equal effort. Many people didn't see what was really happening. They only heard one side. But now, she knew the truth wasn't something you needed to shout. It could sit quietly and still be clear. She thought about all the times women were blamed for wanting the basics: kindness, trust, a real future. How easy it was for people to call them names when they asked for more than crumbs. That label he gave her wasn't just his. It came from something bigger, and she wasn't the only one who had faced it. So she began to write. At first, it was just short notes. Her own memories, simple thoughts, pieces of what she had gone through. Then she shared one story online. The response was quiet at first, but a few women reached out. They said they had been through similar things. Slowly, more came forward. Stories poured in, different details, same patterns. She created a space just for them. A place where women could speak without fear. Some wrote messages. Some recorded their voices. They talked about money used as a trap, praise used as control, promises used to silence. She didn't judge. She listened. She let them speak, and through that, they began to feel less alone. She saw how strong they were, even when they felt broken. How they rebuilt their lives with small steps, just like she had. Each story added more truth to the space she built. People began to notice. Some thanked her. Others tried to argue. But she stayed focused. This wasn't for those who didn't want to understand. It was for those who needed to be seen. Her own healing deepened through their words. She didn't need revenge anymore. What she needed was already happening: clarity, growth, and peace. One day, she looked back at everything she had created. The stories, the connections, the strength that had grown from pain. She smiled and thought of that moment when he tried to make her feel small. He called her a gold digger. Maybe he wasn't fully wrong, because she had found something valuable, but it wasn't money. It was freedom. It was truth. It was herself. She dug through lies, through silence, through shame, and at the bottom, she found something shining. He never saw her clearly, but she did, and that made all the difference. Was she right to turn pain into purpose, or should she have walked away in silence? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to know what you think. If real stories with bold endings interest you, hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next.